Good evening and welcome to this evening's agenda prep meeting. The council meeting will be on December 9th, 6:30, and tonight's meeting is to set the agenda. Council, you have before you a memo, and in that memo details some draft items for the December 9th meeting. If you would, I would like to have favor from you to be able to go through those just very quickly and then circle back to the first one under administration, which of course is the 2014 budget. After the budget, there's a couple of items under administration. One would be to, as we do annually, renew a line of credit with Commercial Bank. To my knowledge, we've never used it, and it's no fee to the city, but it's something we need to have council action on to be able to have available to us. I would also like the city council to consider two proposals. One would be a motion to authorize the secretary to advertise for the city council position that needs to be filled sometime in January, February. Of course, one of your own has been elected to mayor and will have to vacate a 2-year position on council to begin serving as mayor. And then you'll have an opportunity within 30 days, according to the Home Rule Charter, to fill that vacancy. I think it's prudent to, as I've discussed before, to advertise, asking interested parties, eligible candidates to submit a resume and cover letter. I would recommend council actually have them give a 5-minute talk to the public and to council expressing why they might be qualified and interested in serving the 2-year term.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Jim, basically this is to you. So we don't advertise until after January 6th or after the January meeting? And when's the 30 days start?
It starts when the resignation becomes effective.
Which would be the 6th of January?
Yes.
So I would like to advertise in December so that people begin to get, like a job opening,
right,
their cover letters and resumes together.
So would we be required to fill it at the January meeting or the February meeting?
Technically, you're not required to fill it until the position becomes vacant. Now, you will be serving until January 6th. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the day the position becomes vacant. Okay. Thereafter, we have 30 days in which to fill. Can we fill it that evening, anticipating the vacancy? Certainly. So we can advertise now, your position would be vacant, and 5 minutes later we can appoint.
Yeah, but we have to fill it by the January meeting because by the February meeting, we will pass the 30 days.
We could do it at the agenda prep session in January.
Oh, okay.
No, okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah. We don't do it in the January
We have to do
meeting.
it by special meeting or at the agenda session.
Okay, thank you.
You can fill this. You can fill the position at the January 6th meeting.
Correct, because once the vacancy occurs, when you are sworn in as mayor, that seat now becomes vacant. You can't occupy 2 positions. So 1 minute after that is within the 30 days.
Is the magistrate come to those?
He used to. I give the oath to the people now. I'm allowed to.
There now.
I provide the oath. If you want the magistrate, I can ask him to come back.
I don't know.
Under administration, the 4th item would be to motion to authorize the secretary to advertise for a new auditor position. The current auditor, I would recommend that we do not keep into the future, and I would like to advertise. And it's really important that we get that going in January. As you can imagine, auditors actually like to take a look at the books at the end of December. We're not going to be able to do that this year, but we can at least get a head start and get one hired in January, and the new auditor will be able to get started soon after.
Is the current auditor finished this year?
Yes. They are appointed annually. They have completed the audit. It used to be Reach Thompson was our auditor. His business was bought by Rennie out of Ligonier, and less than satisfactory has been their services. Their services have been less than satisfactory. And I would like to go in the direction of getting a firm that has local government entities. There's some even in Latrobe who do local government audits. Yeah, that was already discussed. Yeah, it's here. The last item, and I do have a guest if he needs to answer any questions, is Nick Felice. When the Main Street program began here under the Latrobe Community Revitalization Program, the city was the applicant for the 5-year Main Street program. They are now at the stage of the exit grant phase, and they would like the city to be the applicant once again. Other than administrative duties related to helping Nick with getting it in and that kind of thing, he pretty much does everything. We sign it and mail it in. There's no direct cost. If you recall the way the Main Street program worked, it requires a significant local match. And in this case, there's no city cash match being pledged for the exit grant. What's being pledged, quite frankly, is some admin time with Mrs. Buck and myself. But quite frankly, Nick has been most amenable to making that light on us and getting it done. And so we'd like to entertain that in December. It's important we do that in December because of the time of year it is within the DCD, and to take advantage of the exit grant to really keep the Main Street program viable. While Nick is here, are there any particular questions related to that proposal? Seeing none. Thanks, Nick. Seeing none, under discussion items, we may need to, and I need to talk to Solicitor Kelly on this, have a cooperation agreement with the parking authority at the December meeting, possibly the January meeting. We need this in relation to the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant, which is $1 million grant that's been pledged to the city. To finalize that grant, there's a number of hoops we need to jump through, and we're in the process of doing that. And it is quite a process, I can say. One of those is that the city and the parking authority have an agreement about how we will oblige or live up to the grant agreement related to the garage. Both the solicitor for the parking authority and the solicitor for the city have that information, and we're looking at it. We might do it in January. There's a possibility we do it in December, but I don't think it's a rush. We could get it done, I think, in January and still be okay. It really won't change anything as far as how we work the garage and the system there, but at least it codifies, or at least makes it more formal than what we may have had in the past. Stay tuned on that.
What's happening with the hospital parking garage? I've had a lot of questions asked.
Yes,
But
as of
the parking meters have been removed.
that is correct. As of the end of September, the agreement with the Latrobe Parking Authority and Excella Health ended. In about a week or two into October, the meters were removed from everywhere except the streets. Polk and 2nd Avenue have street
Who owns
meters
the
on.
meters?
Those meters are basically they're owned by the parking authority. The hospital did not want them, so they're at the Public Works garage right now, and maybe we'll get an intern and we'll stick them on eBay or something like that and see if anybody wants to buy them.
I think the other question is, are they going to tear the garage down? Is that in the plans?
I do not know that. They have put a request in to abandon some permit parking along some of the streets up in that area, but they have not put in anything towards us. I know they salted it quite a bit in Huncho on Saturday night.
What happens with revenue? Are they not taking any revenue in, or?
Well, the city, will lose up to $40,000. What happens is the city is the staff for the parking authority. So they pay the authority pays us for the technician, the meter tech who services the meters, and for enforcement processing. The hospital was writing the tickets, and the hospital would give those tickets to us. We would collect those tickets.
I guess my question is, why would the meters be taken out? What do they pay to park there now? Are they paying nothing, or?
It's free.
Permit free.
It's free parking.
Free park.
That's their building?
It's their decision, it's their land. The only way they weren't able to do the parking was with some sort of agreement with the city. And quite frankly, I think it had a lot to do with as a non-profit non-taxable entity. It was a way to create revenue for the city as well as take care of their facilities themselves. But unfortunately, the number of inpatient nights and all kinds of things are a lot lower there than in the past. And they just were no longer willing to be a party to an agreement. They had stopped enforcement and they had stopped maintenance some time ago, which has been problematic for the city, quite frankly. In fact, we have an employee who suffered an injury.
They did not want to rent the meters from us?
No, they didn't want to do anything.
They wanted out of it altogether.
Well, so it's the surface lots and parking garage, they're not doing
Correct.
Not on street parking, we're still,
We do have meters up there, about a dozen or 2 dozen meters up there on Second and Polk.
That's the only meters we have?
Correct.
I think, Alex, you pointed out, we were receiving $40,000 a year from the hospital to pay us for our services, correct?
Parking authority?
Now, the
Through the
net,
parking authority.
right, the net revenue on that $40,000 was much less.
Well,
If you take away all the administrative costs, the employees, public works employees, the cost of them processing the ticket secretary, I mean, the net revenues that we've lost.
Whether it was a sweet deal for the city is one issue. The important part to understand is we still have the stranded costs. We've not, at least to this point, have reduced any staff. So I'm still handling I still
Right,
pay
I
for staff
understand that.
who is doing doing those activities, and I've lost the revenue.
But if you look at that as a separate entity altogether, then the net loss
It's not
isn't that
40,000, it's...
right.
And again, to be clear, that's
How
just
many meters do we have over there now that we actually service and we get paid?
about 2 dozen are on Second, maybe not even that many.
not even that many.
14 and then 4 on Polk, maybe 18, I think.
How much do you take in a month on a meter? Is that about 20 bucks a month is the average?
Those are extremely, very good heavy meters. Those are our best meters for collection in
And
Latrobe.
that might not be a bad number. 20 would be about 240 a year. 30 would be 360 a year. That might not be a bad guesstimate for that. On average, the city meters do about 220 a year.
And they don't want us to have those meters over there anymore? Is that-
We're allowed to have those meters because they're city meters. They were never part of the authorities. City council can determine by ordinance to place meters anywere they like.
The
Also
streets have
eliminate-
always been ours. The
You
streets.
can eliminate meters too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the streets are.
I'd like to circle back to the budget if I may.
Wait, Alex.
Yes, sir.
Public Works. Never mind, I'll come back to it.
About 2 weeks ago, at the agenda session, I gave council spreadsheets like this for the expenditures and revenue and a narrative related to the budget. Tonight, I've given you updated numbers related to the expenditures and revenue. Beginning with the end of this year, we have 11 months almost entirely in the books. And at last year's meeting, I reported both in the narrative and in the statistics about a $385,000 gap between revenue and expenditures for the year 2013. However, based on tightening the numbers and a number of things addressed both the spending and revenue sides, it looks like that gap's going to be about $182,000. What that means is we began the year with a $567,000 beginning general fund balance, and we'll end the year with about a $380,000, depends on how it shakes out, general fund balance. That's good news in one sense, but it's not sustainable. Obviously, except for the transfer station years, the city managed to spend more than it took in every year since 2006. And has been reported in the early intervention plan report and a number of times in my manager's report. The insustainability of that is obvious, and we really only have 2 options. And the narrative had it like this. Option 1 forecasted a tax increase and specifically identified the real estate tax increase. However, you may want to attack the earned income tax. Option 1 also included staff reductions, personnel changes. Option 2 was entirely through service cuts and staff reductions. Now, the budgets I've prepared for you does not spell in option 2 exactly where those budget cuts would be made. Admin, city manager, tax, public works, public safety. There's no anticipation exactly where those cuts will be made. Quite frankly, I as manager can detail the implications of the choices and the alternatives that are before council. However, really needs some policy guidance of where you want to see the cuts made. Same for option 1.
Alex?
Yes, sir.
You understand under home rule that you have the right to hire and also to lay off anybody other than the heads of the departments.
Yes, sir.
So isn't that theoretically your job to make those recommendations to us?
With that, I would like and entertain, if the council's interested in having a personnel discussion. I have some specific ideas related to that. We can have an executive session for 3 areas. One would be legal matters, second would be land sales, and third would be personnel. If council is amenable to having a brief personnel discussion, I do have some ideas about how that can be accomplished, as well as, again, under either options. Both of them entail, budget personnel decisions.
I think, Richard, though, while he has the authority to hire and to fire, I still think he needs policy setting direction from us as to what are our priorities and where do we feel our priorities lie, whether it be public works, public safety, administration, and so it's not solely his decision. The policy should be set from us, I believe.
And I think it's incumbent upon council to not send mixed signals to our manager. On one hand, we're telling them to do this, and on the other hand, we're telling them to do this. So let's not send the mixed signals. We establish, as you said, policy and guidance. He makes the decision. That's why he's getting paid. So.
We'll do an executive session now.
Executive session. We'll try to get it.
Madam Mayor, I think there's been some discussion about how we can increase our revenue. And one of the obvious ways that's pointed out by the manager is to increase the earned income tax. And I think that just to give you, for instance, we are now currently at 1.13% on the earned income tax. If that were to be increased to 1.4%, the city would take in, according to my calculation, about $380,000 more a year. If in fact that was the council's method of increasing revenues, there would probably not be any need for increase in the real estate taxes, and I think you could eliminate one of the nuisance taxes, which is the 5% or $5 per capita tax. So, I certainly would like to see that put on the agenda.
Richard, I just, to the point for council's information, on page 1 of the draft revenue spreadsheet, it's the thinner spreadsheet of the two. Under option 1, it shows an extra line item under real estate and an extra line item under earned income. So again, this would be the revenue category, general fund revenue 2014. Option 1 and option, both the real estate and that figure for earned income, are adjustable figures.
Is that 1.4, Alex?
That actually is just a 0.1. So that would take you, instead of a
1.23. That would take it to 1.23.
Yes, sir.
The 0.1 added to 1.13.
and just please know that's based on the $825,000. As you know, the earned income tax is an elastic tax. It's based on the cumulative wages of
Right.
workers
I
in the
think some
city.
years you've taken in 925,000. I think some 875,000. So you're basing it on
825 is what I based it on.
825,000 is what we're taking in now at 1.13%. I'm suggesting, and I think Ken Waldenary is suggesting, that if we go to 1.4% on the earned income tax, we will take in an additional, what's that?
380.
380,000, and that ought to put us in good stead to hold personnel, to keep the city viable, and also maintain most of our programs. And somebody has figured out how much it would cost for a $50,000 a year wage earner.
Kenny did that.
That was my
I
Nice
did.
number is
Oh, you did.
$68.
$68
That's
a
if you're
year.
on 50,000, you'd pay $68 more a year, a little over $1 a week. That's at 58 now. The average, the mean
That's at
salary here.
1.3, right?
That's at 1.3.
At 1.4, it would be another couple of bucks.
Again, if you're in the 38.
About $1.70, $1.75 a week
I
on
would caution
$50,000.
council, figure about half of that if you chose to do that for next year because of the timing
Can't get it till
We
July.
can't have it being withheld until July 1,
Well,
someday in July.
the thing about it is, you can make it effective January 1st, but it probably won't be withheld, maybe until it's starting in July, but it is effective.
So does that mean they
Right.
removed from January to June, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you get the total.
You
At
get
the
the
end of the
total.
year, you'd have to make up the difference, or whatever you buy your income tax.
I'm not 100, that's something I have to look up.
We did it the same way the last time,
Right.
when Rick Statler was here, and we raised the taxes. We didn't get around to it until November,
We got the full
December.
amount in?
Yes,
Alex,
sir.
didn't you get a response? Didn't you ask that question of?
Yeah, I shared with council
Yeah.
3 responses, one from Berkheimer, one from the state, and one from the EIP consultant. And again, there's a lot to it, but the long and short of it is I think he can be retroactive in a sense. But like a lot of things, we're a small part of a large collection system. So do we catch everybody and we'll be able to fly under the radar? Remains to be seen. But since we've moved from local collection to the countywide collection, collections have been way up.
The other question I would have is in the future, I mean, nobody has a budget ready by October, so nobody's changing their EIT tax until their budget time, in most cases, right?
That would be,
So does that mean if we'd ever do this, something like this again, would we have to, does it leave us to, can you make that decision based on what your budget year looks like?
Make it earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's
pretty
kinda hard.
It is very difficult.
So you can't really do it till you plan to work your budget. Nobody's working their budgets in October for next year
That's
yet.
why I'm talking.
It's kind of,
Yeah, the other,
So does it agree?
I would agree to it. but
I would.
1.4.
I'll add something to the agenda related to earned income tax, related to the 2014 budget.
Can you also put a deduct in there, if we
Yes,
get
sir.
rid of that one local, what I call it a nuisance tax, so that you have a better picture of it?
The advantage of that is it's less work for the tax office, and of course, we'll be losing a person upon the retirement of one of our longtime employees.
And the postage costs and everything involved with that, when you weigh that out, look at what you gain versus what it costs you to get that amount in that.
There's effort
in that.
and cost.
yeah. I don't think.
There's a couple of other issues. One I would like to see council, and some may look at me a little bit in a cynical light. I'd like to eliminate the council's salaries and the salary of the mayor henceforth. I mean, it's truly a voluntary position. And it does represent a savings of what, what are you making now, $3,000 a year? 2,400.
And we're what,
That's
$90
enough.
a month or something like that?
Yeah, it's another $8,000 a year in savings.
Are we allowed
What's
to do
that?
that?
No, I'm just thinking, because it is in the charter, I don't know that we can eliminate it by council action now. That would not
We can
prevent
reduce
anyone
it. You
from
reduced it
just
before.
giving
Right,
it
I
back.
That was
proposed, yes.
reduced.
We reduced it.
I got an idea, why don't we make that reduction retroactive?
So Kenny has to give it back.
I will do that.
You have to
if
amend the charter.
To get rid of it
That was
completely.
reduced.
I will put my
And
money
that would
where
be a
my
vote.
mouth is,
That would be a
Richard.
vote. To amend the charter would have to be a referendum, right?
Referendum. But it's,
That's legislative.
it's something that could be thought of if you had other issues in the charter you wanted to address with the public with the referendum.
There's another issue I think that I would like to see on the agenda for the next council meeting. Possibly, I'd like to see us transition over from the local dispatch service over to the county dispatch service, like every other fire department in the county, with the exception of Menneson. I would like to see that. That was a recommendation in EIP. I don't know why we still maintain our own dispatchers
There's a-
here.
There's a lot of reasons for that, and I guess the best way to get the answer from the chief is through Alex, talk with them, and the chief can find out for those reasons and discuss.
Well,
them.
the concern is, as volunteerism is decreasing for volunteer fire departments, how will in 4 or 5 years the ability to get a truck out there quick
Exactly.
be compared to what it is
I mean,
now?
There's a lot of
However,
issue of response.
I would entertain the council consider assigning those gentlemen to potentially other duties, if it's possible, say help cleaning buildings or something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe set them up with the wireless.
Yeah, this is another issue.
all down.
It is stuck in my craw. We're the only fire department around that has full-time paid duty drivers.
No, we're not the only one.
Well, the other ones have paid departments. Right, I mean, they have
They're not paid
paid.
departments.
Huh?
There's other departments that pay activities.
I understand there are paid fire departments within this county, within southwestern Pennsylvania, but in all volunteer departments, there are, there are none that I'm aware of that have paid duty drivers. And that represents 2 meals of taxes a year. And this is.
People are missing the most if someone has a heart attack at 2 in the morning and they're there within 2 minutes.
Again, my concern is going forward.
But
as well, there
nonetheless,
is that
You want to cut them from those people, Kenny, that's your choice.
we just have seen,
gonna be gone.
we've seen a deterioration of volunteerism, and my concern is, going forward, do we anticipate that to be better or worse than it is today? And I think the thinking on the street is volunteerism isn't getting better on its own. So
I understand
being able to put a truck on the street.
But nonetheless, how does Derry Township do it? How does Derry Borough? How does Ligonier do it? How do they do it? How do they do it in Blairsville? How do they do it? How do they respond?
I'll give you an application.
How do they do it in
I'll
Greensboro?
give you an application.
I'm
You can help.
65 years old, Mike.
I'm 50 years old, we do what we can.
Right, and how do they do it without paid drivers? That's what I want to know. Why has this always been the third rail of politics in this town? You cannot criticize, you can't touch the volunteer fire department. You can't. You can't offer to make any changes, any suggestions, none whatsoever. They are the third rail.
Again, just to be clear.
I just want to know why it
4% of the
costs.
budget, right?
Yeah.
Pardon me?
4% of the budget.
Yeah, I've said
I'm
this.
not concerned, I'm talking about 2 meals of taxes, goes to 2 guys that are down in that room, and I'm not
That
going
are
to say what they do all
providing
day.
community.
Pardon me?
They're providing that service to this community. There's a lot of places we can cut 2 meals, I talked to you about that earlier.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, that's the low-hanging fruit as far as I'm concerned.
I wanted to ask one question. By the way, I probably won't be here at the December meeting. But I know we did give benefits, that is eye, vision, prescription, dental, to the children of our employees between 21 and 26. Did we not do that at some point?
They already had the prescription as a part of their comprehensive health care.
Right.
What we did was, for the dependents of employees, we did offer those dental and the vision. Because we're self-insured, the rates,
And prescription?
the prescription was part of their, the Obamacare. Obamacare already moved us in that direction.
Oh, from
The
the
Affordable
21
Care Act
on.
required we add these dependents to our major medical coverage.
Did you figure out a cost on that?
We did, and when council approved it, we informed you that there was no increase in cost because of our self-insured and the way we run our plan. And if you look at the proposed budget, comparing that line item in expenditures, it's really on the second page of expenditures. You'll see that for eye and for dental, we're actually going down this year. I'm sorry, it's on page, no, it's there, yeah, it's on page 2 of the expenditures. We're projecting going down to 12,800, and we're spending 13,000 this year for
But Alex,
dental.
are you saying that it didn't cost us anything to do that?
We asked our manager of our system, C.B. Tracy, to do an analysis of adding those people. What would be the net impact to the plan? And there was not a cost increase impact to the plan. Now, Richard, I'm not going to dance with you, and I'm not going to kid you, but the fact is, you know how this stuff works. I mean, what does it mean in the net? It could mean cost increase. And, you know, it can be easy to say, well, it was because of that decision. Remember, employee benefits are to be seen in the whole of keeping high-quality employees. This city has an average employee of 16 years of service. They work extremely hard. They're fairly compensated, and benefits are part
I
of
asked
that.
a question about the cost. I understand the necessity for doing it, and I just asked the question about the cost. It has to have a cost.
Until we have some history, though, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
because it's,
That's probably can't
In
get.
general, people between ages, I don't know, 18 and 24, other than wisdom teeth and some of the glass issues, are generally healthy, more healthy, and incur less cost than the 14-year-old who needs braces and the wisdom teeth.
Well, that's an argument for why it shouldn't cost as much.
That's what I'm saying. Adding up to the cost wasn't a net negative to the plan.
and that's what CB Tracy was telling us. That's what CB Tracy said. It doesn't, it's,
And having come from another provider with dental, and I know some people don't have dental and vision coverage, but having come from another employer, the plan isn't generous by any means.
What's that?
The city's plan is not generous for eye or
None of
dental.
them are, really.
no.
Anybody else? Anybody else?